I mean, in what context? Right now, are we talking about? Yeah. There's nothing on the floor.
I have it turned on right now.
No, but do you hear anything on the floor, Mike?
I'm just giving you my boom right now.
Almost. Close.
He's on his way.
Okay, great. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Phone. Sit down.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States and the President of Ukraine.
President Zelensky, I'm honored to welcome you back to the White House. We spent an awful lot of time on the telephone as well as on video, but it's good to see you in person again. And we've been in close and frequent communication throughout this conflict from the very beginning, but particularly, it's particularly meaningful to talk with one another in person, look each other in the eye, because leadership through this terrible crisis has inspired the Ukrainian people, as you have done, Mr. President, and the American people and the entire world. This visit to Washington, your first trip outside Ukraine since February, comes as President Putin has escalated his attacks, his brutal attacks, targeting critical infrastructure to make life as hard as possible for not only innocent Ukrainians, but children and young children, and everything from orphanages to schools. It's just outrageous what he's doing. And we've, as we've heard, as we head into the new year, it's important for the American people and for the world to hear directly from you, Mr. President, about Ukraine's fight and the need to continue to stand together through 2023. This visit also falls on the 300-day mark of Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine. 300 days since Putin launched an unprovoked, unjustified, all-out assault on the free people of Ukraine. 300 days of Ukrainian people showing Russia and the world their steel backbone, their love of country, and their unbreakable determination, and I emphasize unbreakable determination, to choose their own path. To Ukrainian people, I say to them all, you have demonstrated, you have shown your strong stand against aggression in the face of the imperial appetites of autocrats who wrongfully believe they might be able to make might right, and they're not able to do it. Thus far, they've stood alone, and but you haven't stood alone. You have had significant help. We've never stand alone. You will never stand alone. When Ukraine's freedom was threatened, the American people, like generations of Americans before us, did not hesitate. The support from all across this country, Americans of every walk of life, Democrats and Republicans alike, had the resources and to rebound and resounding united way to provide unequivocal and unbending support for Ukraine. Because we understand in our bones that Ukraine's fight is part of something much bigger. The American people know that if we stand by in the face of such blatant attacks on liberty and democracy and the core principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity, the world would surely face worse consequences. And as I said, when Putin rolled his tanks into Ukraine in February, American people are prepared to have us stand up to bullies, stand up for freedom. That's who we are as Americans, and that's exactly what we've done. Even before the invasion began and Putin threatened Ukraine by building up his forces, we helped make sure Ukraine would be prepared to defend itself, even before they crossed into Ukraine. We provided a steady stream of defensive weapons, including air defense systems and artillery, ammunition, and so much more. And we've not done it alone. From the very beginning, the United States rallied allies and partners from around the world to stand strong with Ukraine and impose unprecedented, and I emphasize unprecedented, sanctions and export controls on Russia, making it harder for the Kremlin to wage this brutal war. More than 50 nations have committed nearly 2,000 tanks and other armored vehicles, more than 800 artillery systems, more than 2 million rounds of artillery ammunition, and more than 50 advanced multiple rocket launching systems, anti-ship and air defense systems, all to strengthen Ukraine. Together, we provided billions of dollars in direct budgetary support to make sure the Ukrainian government can keep providing basic fundamental services to the Iranian people, like health care, education, and emergency personnel. This includes another $2 billion that in direct budget support from the American people that the World Bank distributed earlier this week. We provided humanitarian assistance to help the millions of Ukrainians who have been forced to flee their homes because of Putin's inhumane, brutal war. Communities across Europe have opened their hearts and their homes to help Ukrainians in need. The United States has been proud to welcome more than 221,000 Ukrainians seeking refuge since March of 2022, including as part of Uniting for Ukraine, as part of our Uniting for Ukraine program. And today, USAID is committing more than $374 million in urgently needed humanitarian assistance for Ukraine. This will help provide food and cash assistance for more than 1.5 million Ukrainian people, as well as access to health care, safe drinking water, and help stay warm in the winter for more than 2.5 million Ukrainians. The United States and our allies and partners around the world have delivered a broad range of assistance at historic speed and has been critical to bolstering Ukraine's success thus far. Ukraine has won the Battle of Kyiv, has won the Battle of Kherson, has won the Battle of Kharkiv. Ukraine has defied Russia's expectations at every single turn. And President Zelensky, you have made it clear that he is open to pursuing, well, let me put it this way. He's not open, but you're open to pursuing peace. You're open to pursuing a just peace. We also know that Putin has no intention of stopping this cruel war. And the United States is committed to ensuring that the brave Ukrainian people can continue to defend their country against Russian aggression as long as it takes. And I want to thank the members of Congress for their broad bipartisan support to Ukraine. And I look forward to signing the omnibus bill soon, which includes $45 billion in additional funding for Ukraine. I'll also sign into law the National Defense Authorization Act, which includes authorities to make it easier for the Department of Defense to procure critical munitions and defense materials for Ukraine and other key materials to strengthen our national security. Today, I'm announcing the next tranche of our security assistance to Ukraine. $1.85 billion package of security assistance that includes both direct transfers of equipment that Ukraine needs, as well as contracts to supply ammunition Ukraine will need in the months ahead for its artillery, its tanks, and its rocket launchers. Critically, in addition to these new capabilities, like precision aerial munitions, the package will include a Patriot missile battery, on which will train Ukrainian forces to operate as part of the ongoing effort to help bolster Ukraine's air defense. It's going to take some time to complete the necessary training, but the Patriot battery will be another critical asset for Ukraine as it defends itself against Russian aggression. Altogether, today's new security assistance with humanitarian funding amounts to $2.2 billion in additional support for the Ukrainian people. We should be clear about what Russia's doing. It is purposefully attacking Ukraine's critical infrastructure, destroying the systems that provide heat and light to the Ukrainian people during the coldest, darkest part of the year. Russia is using winter as a weapon, freezing people, starving people, cutting them off from one another. It's the latest example of the outrageous atrocities the Russian forces are committing against innocent Ukrainian civilians, children, and their families. And the United States is working together with our allies and partners to provide critical equipment to help Ukraine make emergency repairs to their power transmission systems and strengthen the stability of Ukraine's grid in the face of Russia's targeted attacks. We're also working to hold Russia accountable, including efforts in Congress that will make it easier to seek justice for Russia's war crimes in Ukraine. Let me close with this. Tonight is the fourth night of Hanukkah, a time when Jewish people around the world, President Zelensky and many of the families among them, honored the timeless miracle of a small band of warriors fighting for their values and their freedom against a much larger foe, and how they endured and how they overcame. How the flame of faith, with only enough oil for one day, burned brightly for 8 days. A story of survival and resilience that reminds us that the coldest days of the year, that light will always prevail over darkness, and hope drives away despair. And that the human spirit is unconquerable as long as there are good people willing to do what is right. This year has brought so much needless suffering and loss to the Ukrainian people. But I want you to know, President Zelensky, I want you to know that all the people of Ukraine to know as well. The American people have been with you every step of the way, and we will stay with you. We will stay with you for as long as it takes. What you're doing, what you've achieved, it matters not just to Ukraine, but to the entire world. And together, I have no doubt we'll keep the flame of liberty burning bright, and the light will remain and prevail over the darkness. Thank you for being here, Mr. President. We're going to stand with you.
Thank you. Шановний пане президенте.
Dear Mr. President,
Yeah, please.
please put on the equipment.
Шановний
Once
пане
again,
президенте Байден.
Mr. President,
Шановні
President
присутні,
Biden,
шановні журналісти.
audience, journalists, ladies and gentlemen.
Я приїхав до
I
Сполучених
came here to
Штатів,
the United
щоб
States
передати слова
to
вдячності від
forward
українського народу усім
thank
американцям,
the word of
народу,
thanks
який
to
робить
the
так
people of
багато для
America,
України. Я дякую вам
people
всім
who
за
do
це.
so much for Ukraine. I am
Цей
thankful
візит
for all of
Сполучених
this.
Штатів
This
Америки
visit
став
to the United States
дійсно
became
історичним для
really a
України, для наших
historic
відносин
one
з
for
Америкою
our
і для
relations
американського
with the
лідерства.
United States and the American
За 300
leadership.
днів
In the
цієї
last 30
війни
days of
ми
this
розпочали
war,
дійсно новий
we have
етап
started a
наших
new
взаємних
phase of
України і США. Ми
our
вийшли на
interrelations with the
рівень
United States.
реального
We
союзництва, яке на
became a real
100% наповнено реальним
partners
змістом.
and allies
Я сьогодні
with
це
the
відчув
content.
на всіх
And
моїх
I felt today
зустрічах,
during
в
all of
усіх
my
наших
meetings and during
переговорах.
our
Я хочу ще раз
talks.
подякувати пану
Once again, I would like to
президенту
thank Mr.
Байдену
President,
за щиру
President Biden, for
підтримку
his
і, що дуже
candid
важливо,
support and what is
розуміння
very
України,
important, the
а
understanding
також за
of
будівництво
Ukraine
і
and for
підтримання
the
міжнародної
support
коаліції
of the
для
international
посилення
coalition
міжнародного
to
правопорядку.
strengthen
Я вдячний президенту
international
Байдену
law. I
за
am
його
grateful to
особисті
President
зусилля,
Biden
дуже
for his
цілеспрямовані,
personal
мудрі кроки,
efforts,
які
his
об'єднують світову
steps
спільноту,
that
зокрема глобальний
unite
південь.
the partners and
Коли усі
global
країни
South.
світу
When all
займають
countries
чітку
of the
позицію на
world
захист міжнародного права,
take some
на мирну
position
співпрацю
and are
і
focusing
взаєморозуміння,
on
це
cooperation
корисно
and
для усіх
mutual
країн,
understanding. This is
безумовно,
very
для України,
useful for
для
all of the
Сполучених Штатів
countries, for
Америки.
Ukraine, for the United States.
Я хочу подякувати
I want to
Конгресу за
thank the
двопалатну
Congress
двопартійну
for
підтримку і
bipartisan,
перечуваю
bicameral
сьогодні
support,
змістовні
and
зустрічі з очільником Палати представників і Сенату за
looking
рішення
forward to good
Конгресу на
meetings
посилення
with the
свободи.
members
І
of the
зараз я
Congress
якраз
and their
проводжу цей
support.
візит
This is the
новими
visit
заходами
that
в Конгресі.
I'm here today to
Головне
meet with the
питання
Congress.
усіх моїх
The
переговорів
main
сьогодні
issue
це
during my
зміцнення України,
today's
це
talk is
наступний
to
рік, це наш
strengthen
рух до
Ukraine.
перемоги у
Next
війні
year,
за
our movement
незалежність.
forward
Ми
to
маємо чудові
fight
новини,
for our
з якими
freedom
я
and
повертаюся
independence.
додому.
I have good
Президент
news
Байден
returning
сьогодні
home.
оголосив
President
про
Biden
новий
announced
пакет
a
військової
new
допомоги
package
Україні
of
обсягом біля 2
defense
мільярдів
support,
доларів. І
about $2
найсильнішим
billion
елементом
and the
цього
strongest element
пакету
of this
є
package
комплекс
is
Patriot,
the Patriots
те, що
battery
суттєво посилить
systems,
нашу
something that will
протиповітряну
strengthen
оборону.
our air defense
Це важливий
significantly. This
у
is a
створенні
very
дієвого
important
повітряного
step
щита для
to
України.
create
Тільки так ми
secure
позбавимо
airspace for Ukraine,
державу
and that's the
терориста
only way
її
we would be
головного
able to
інструменту
deprive the
терору,
terrorist
можливості бити по наших
country
містах,
and their
по
terror
нашій
attack to
енергетиці,
attack
по
to
наших
strike
людях.
our energy sector,
Дуже
our
важливою
people, and
частиною
our
нашої розмови з паном
infrastructure.
президентом була
We had a very
координація
good
подальших наших стратегічних
negotiation
кроків. Ми
and talks
детально
about our
говорили про те,
strategic
чого ми
steps,
очікуємо
which we discussed
від
with
наступного
President
року
Biden,
і до
and what
чого
we expect
ми
next year, and
готуємось.
for what
Це
we are
важливо
preparing.
для усіх
This is very
українців.
important for
Я
all
сподіваюся,
Ukrainians,
що
and I am hopeful.
Дякую, по-перше, ще раз
And
пану
once again,
президенту.
thank you, Mr.
45
President,
мільярдів.
for 45
Це велика
billion,
допомога. Я
because
сподіваюся,
this
що
is a
Конгрес
big
ухвалить пакет
assistance, and I
фінансової
hope
підтримки
that the
для
Congress
нашої
will
держави.
approve this financial
Дійсно, майже
assistance
45
for our
мільярдів доларів. Дякую за таку
country. This is
велику
almost
підтримку.
45
Кожен
billion.
долар
Thank you very much
такої
for this support.
інвестиції
Every dollar of this
Сполучених Штатів
investment
у
for the
захист
United
свободи
States
означатиме
is
реальне і
going
відчутне
to be
посилення
a
глобальної безпеки.
strengthening of
Я
global
знаю, що американське
security. I
лідерство
know that the American
залишиться
leadership
міцним та
will be
глобально
strong
відчутним.
and will
Сполучені
play
Штати
important role
стоятимуть
in
на
global
захисті наших
scope.
спільних
And the United
цінностей,
States will
цінностей
help us to
свободи. І
defend
я вірю,
our
що
values,
попри будь-які
and
персональні зміни
independence.
в
And
складі
regardless
Конгресу,
of changes in the
двопалатна і
Congress,
двопартійна
I
підтримка
believe
буде
that there will
зберігатись.
be
Я дякую
bipartisan
всім,
and
хто працює
bicameral
саме
support.
заради цього.
And I know that
Звичайно,
everybody
на
works
усіх
for
зустрічах
this. And of
сьогодні
course, during all of
звучить
my
і
meetings
звучатиме
today,
питання про
we
протидію
discussed
російському
issues
терору,
of
відновлення
standoff
зруйнованої
against
інфраструктури, передусім
terror of Russia,
енергетики. Ми
the
маємо
destruction
пройти цю
of
зиму.
our energy
Маємо
infrastructure.
захистити наших
We need
людей.
to survive this
Маємо
winter.
бути і
We
будемо
need
в
to
таких
protect
речах
our people,
максимально
and we need to
конкретними.
be very
Це
specific
ключове
in this
гуманітарне
area. This is a
питання
key
для нас зараз.
humanitarian issue
Це
for us
питання
right
виживання.
now. This is the survival
Обговорюємо
issue.
подальші
We are
санкційні та
discussing
юридичний
sanctions
тиск на
and
державу-терориста.
legal
Росія має
pressure on the
відповідати за
terrorist
все
country
те,
Russia.
що
Russia needs
робить проти нашої держави,
to
проти
be held
наших
accountable
людей,
for
проти
everything
усієї
it does
Європи
against
та
us,
вільного
against
світу.
our people, against Europe and
І
the whole
принципова
free
річ
world.
– це
And it
формула
is
миру,
very
можливості
important
американського
that we
лідерства.
have
Щодо
the
цього ми
peace
пропонуємо
formula,
дуже
and for
конкретні
that
пункти, і те, що
we
Америка може
offer
зробити, щоб
very
допомогти
specific steps what America
їх
can do
виконати.
to
Ми
help us
пропонуємо
to
Global
implement them.
Peace Formula Summit.
We
Я вдячний
propose
нашим
global
американським
formula for
союзникам за
peace
те, що
summit.
вони
I'm
нас
thankful
чують
for our
і
American
відчувають так само,
counterparts
як
that
і ми,
they
наскільки
feel us
важливо
and understand
зберігати
how important it
ініціативу
is to
і шукати,
continue
як
and
відновити
stay on
територіальну
course
цілісність
and
України,
work
міжнародний
on
порядок. І останнє.
integrity of the
Маємо
country and
чітке розуміння, як
international
будуть
rule of
посилені
law.
наші
We will also
оборонні
need,
спроможності
as soon as
в найближчі
our
місяці.
defense
Я про це
capabilities will
не
be
хочу зараз
strengthened
говорити
in the
детально.
next few months. I don't
Я
want to
думаю, ви всі
discuss it in
розумієте,
details
чому, але
right
я
now.
за це
I
дуже
believe you
вдячний
understand why,
президенту
but I am very
Байдену.
grateful to
Дякую
President
за
Biden.
увагу. Слава Україні!
Thank you for your attention to all of these issues. Glory to Ukraine.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We're going to take questions from 4 different reporters, and I'm going to start with Alex of Yahoo News.
Thank you, Mr. President. In 2022, you presided over a bipartisan international coalition to support Ukraine. How will you keep that coalition from fraying in 2023? And President Zelensky, welcome to Washington on this beautiful winter day. What is your message to the American people?
Well, answering your questions first, I'm not at all worried about holding the alliance together, NATO and the European Union, as
Наше
well as other nations.
союзницьке партнерство з країнами Європейського Союзу і іншими країнами.
I assume this is simultaneous. All right. Okay. I've never seen NATO or the EU more united about anything at all. And I see no sign of there being any change. We all know what's at stake here. Our European partners, all the more so. They fully understand it. This is about, we've never seen a major invasion of a European country since World War II. And they see no signs that Putin is going to do anything to change that unless we resist and we help the Ukrainians resist. We all know what's at stake. The very idea of sovereignty, the UN Charter. Putin thought he would weaken NATO. Instead, he strengthened NATO. I once said to him that we talk about he wanted to see Europe end up being divided. And instead, what did he do? He produced a more united Europe with Sweden and Finland joining. So I don't see any reason to believe there will be any lessening of support. And as we reach out to our NATO allies, our Secretary of Defense and our Secretary of State, we get continued support, not only there, but also from around the world, from Japan and many other countries as well. So I feel very good about the solidarity of support for Ukraine.
Thank you for your question. Thank you very much. You asked me what is the message to
Дякую за
American people.
запитання.
You know, I think I will tell you very simple things, which are very important for me. And I think so that we have the same values and the same understanding of the life, the sense of the life. My message, I wish you peace. I think that is the main thing, and you understand it only when the war in your country, when somebody like these terrorists from Russia come to your houses. And I wish you think that is the main thing what I can wish you. And of course, to be together with us, jointly, because we really fight for our common victory against this tyranny. That is real life, and we will win. And I really want win together. Thanks so much. Not want, sorry, I'm sure.
You call on one of your people, press person?
Yeah. Будь ласка. Інтер.
Yeah, thank you. Dmitry Anopchenko, Ukrainian television. President Zelensky, President Biden, I got a question to both of you, but firstly, as Ukrainian, and I mean it, I want to thank the United States for supporting my country. And, you know, my family is in Ukraine, and I definitely understand they will not be alive today if America will not support my country, both politically and militarily. So thank you for this. It's honest.
Will.
And as of my question, we enter a new phase of this war, and you definitely discussed today which path to choose, how the war could come to an end, and what's next. Will it turn into a new counteroffensive or some kind of peace talks? So, Mr. Biden, Mr. Zelensky, could you share your vision? What's the fair way to end this war, and how do you understand this word's fair peace? Thank you.
My view.
Your guy.
I think we have. Come here. I see.
Although I like him very much already.
Ви розпочали це запитання.
You have started this question.
I'm sorry. Sometimes I switch on my native language. Ви почали з того, що ви
You have
сказали, що
started
ваша
by
сім'я в
stating that your family is in Kiev and without the assistance of the United States. This is absolutely true. The U.S. leadership in this assistance is strong, and again, I would like to remind you that your family will be in danger without the armed forces of Ukraine, which is very important. That concerns your questions per se. What would you like to hear? Just peace? I don't know. I don't know what just peace is. It's a very philosophical description. If there is a just war, I don't know.
Для нас, для всіх, мир по-різному справедливий. Для мене, як для президента, справедливий мир – що ніяких компромісів щодо нашої землі, територіальної цілісності, нашого суверенітету. Це не відшкодування всіх тих збитків, які завдала російська агресія. Але, я вибачаю, що я сьогодні так говорю про багато про дітей, але ви
I'm sorry, I'm talking about children a lot today, but as a father, I would like to emphasize, you know, how many parents lost their sons and daughters on the front lines. So what is just peace for them? Money is nothing. And no compensations or reparations are of no consequence. They live by revenge. I think this is a tremendous tragedy, and the longer the war lasts, the longer this aggression lasts, there will be more parents who live for the sake of vengeance or revenge. And I know a lot of people like that. So there can't be any just peace in the war that was imposed on us by these, I don't know how to describe that because we are in the White House and I can't find the proper language. So these inhumans, I would say.
Let me respond. I think we share the exact same vision. And that a free, independent, prosperous, and secure Ukraine is the vision. We both want this war to end. We both want it to end. And as I've said, it could end today if Putin had any dignity at all and did the right thing and just said, pulled out. But that's not going to happen. Not going to happen. It's not going to happen now. So what comes next? What we talked about today was we're going to continue to help Ukraine succeed on the battlefield. It can succeed in the battlefield with our help and the help of our European allies and others. So that if and when President Zelensky is ready to talk with the Russians, he will be able to succeed as well because he will have won on the battlefield. And, you know, I don't think we should underestimate the impact this war is having on Russia and the losses they're suffering. And you saw just, I think it was 2 days ago, Putin saying that this is much tougher than he thought. He thought he could break NATO. He thought he could break the West. He thought he could break the alliance. He thought he could be welcomed by the Ukrainian people that were Russian-speaking. He was wrong, wrong, and wrong. He continues to be wrong. The sooner he makes it's clear that he cannot possibly win this war, that's when the time we have to put this president in a position to be able to decide how he wants the war to end. My turn, huh?
Please, yeah.
Phil Matterly, Matt Matterly of CNN.
Thank you, Mr. President. Welcome, Mr. President. Mr. President, to start with you, your advisors often talk about how critically important you view face-to-face interaction. I'm wondering, after spending 2+ hours face-to-face with President Zelensky, what you learned or what you took from the meeting that perhaps you couldn't glean or learn in the phone calls or video conferences, and somewhat tied to that, was there any discussion related to the U.S. assessment that Russia would not take escalatory action now that Patriots are being sent, a Patriot battery will be delivered?
Let me answer the first question, the first part of your question. You know I get kidded for saying that there's all politics is personal. It's all about looking someone in the eye, and I mean it sincerely. I don't think there's any substitute for sitting down face-to-face with a friend or a foe and looking them in the eye. And that's exactly what's happening at this moment. We've done that more than once, and we're going to continue to do it. And the winter is setting in, and Putin is increasingly going after civilian targets and women and children, orphanages. This guy is, well, but he's going to fail. And he's going to fail. He's already failed because he now knows that there's no way he's ever going to occupy all of Ukraine. There's no way in which he's going to be accepted by the Ukrainian people. And so he's failed in the past, and it was very important for him and everyone else to see that President Zelensky and I are united, two countries together, to make sure he cannot succeed. And I think I may be mistaken, but I know I judge every leader by the way what they say to me, their consistency, and look him in the eye. This guy has to his very soul is who he says he is. It's clear who he is. He's willing to give his life for his country, and all the folks that came with him today. And so I think it's important for him to know we are going to do everything in our power to see that he succeeds.
Thanks.
What was the second part of your question?
I just asked if you had discussed how the U.S. calculated the escalatory effect of sending a Patriot missile battery to Ukraine.
I did not discuss that at all with the president, but we do not. It's a defensive system. It's a defensive weapon system. It's not escalatory. It's defensive, and it's easy to not. And we'd love to not have to have them use it. Just stop the attacks.
President Zelensky, again, welcome. You mentioned earlier that you wanted to make this trip for a while now. Why now? And also, can you tell me what you think the message you are sending to President Putin is, given the fact that 24 hours ago you were on the ground in the front lines with artillery echoing behind you, and now you find yourself in the White House standing next to the President?
Thank you very much for your question. As to what is the message for Putin? I am standing here in the United States with President Biden on the same podium because I respect him as a person, as a president, as a human being for his position. And for me, this is a historic moment. I can send messages to President Biden. For example, if it's not serious, you said, what's going to happen after Patriots are installed? After that, we will send another signal to President Biden that we would like to get more Patriots.
We're working.
That is our life. We are in war. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. That is my appreciation. Що стосується президента Путіна.
President Putin. In 2019, we had a Normandy meeting. In 2019, I became the president of Ukraine, and at that time, we were sending maximum messages to President Putin, telling him that there shouldn't be a full-scale invasion, to stop aggression, to renew our territorial integrity, to find diplomatic solution. Or, God forbid, we should not have a full-scale war. At that time, he said it won't happen. He was lying. So what kind of message I can send him after he actually destroyed our life, is destroying our life? He can even go further, somewhere where the Soviet Union stayed before this, so he might want to invade those territories too. I believe that there is something mortal about his inadequate approach to the world. Why we need to send him a message? He needs to be interested in getting attention from the world, because he is not a subject of civilized people. He should be interested in trying to save something of his culture and history of his country. So that's his problem now.
This will be the last question.
Olga Kushelenko, 1+1 TV channel. When the full-scale invasion started, U.S. officials said that Ukraine cannot receive Patriots because, as you said, it might be unnecessary escalation. And now it is happening. Right now, today, it is happening. And now Ukraine desperately needs more capabilities, including long-range missiles, ATACMS. Maybe I sound naive, but can we make a long story short and give Ukraine all capabilities it needs and liberate all territories rather sooner than later? Thank you.
Well, his answer is yes.
I agree.
Let me be straightforward with you here. Look, the fact is that it's important to remember that before Russia invaded, we dedicated an enormous amount of security assistance to Ukraine. And we've given Ukraine what they needed when they needed to defend themselves. And since the invasion, that has resulted in more than $20 billion in terms of security assistance. Just today, I approved another $1.8 billion in additional assistance to Ukraine for it to succeed on the battlefield. And we're focused on working with allies and partners to generate capability in 4 key areas. Air defense, as we know today, the Patriot is the best of that. Secondly is to, and we're looking to do more, we provided hundreds of advanced artillery systems and from dozens of countries. Thirdly, we've worked with partners to get Ukraine tanks and other armored vehicles. And fourthly, we've announced today another 200,000 rounds of additional ammunition. Now you say, why don't we just give Ukraine everything there is to give? Well, for two reasons. One, there's an entire alliance that is critical to stay with Ukraine. And the idea that we would give Ukraine material that is fundamentally different than is already going there would have a prospect of breaking up NATO and breaking up the European Union and the rest of the world. We're going to give Ukraine what it needs to be able to defend itself, to be able to succeed and succeed in the battlefield. And the other piece of this is, you may recall, one of the reasons why I have spent, well, I won't tell you the calculation, but I've spent several hundred hours face-to-face with our European allies and the heads of state of those countries, and making the case as to why it was overwhelming in their interest that they continue to support Ukraine. They understand it fully, but they're not looking to go to war with Russia. They're not looking for a third world war, and I think they can all be avoided by making sure that Ukraine is able to succeed in the battlefield. So anyway, there's more to say, but I probably already said too much. Thank you. Well, thank you all very, very much. Appreciate your time and attention. And as I said, Mr. President, you don't have to worry. We are staying with Ukraine as long as Ukraine is there. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. All the best.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain in your seats until the official delegations have departed. Thank you. What is that?